Two unemployed actors, two unemployed actors. They're just between projects.
Welcome back to Two Unemployed Actors. I'm Max, and joining me today is actor Damien Strouthos. Did I pronounce that right?
Mate, you absolutely nailed it. I actually was thinking on the way here, on the drive over, I was like, I know he's going to have to say it, and he's reading it off a page, and he's going to go, oh, no.
Right.
But you nailed it. You killed it. So
what
well
I
done.
forgot to do was ask you. I actually got it written down to ask you, just to check that I'm pronouncing it right. But anyway, okay, 4 points to me. Fantastic. I won't have to edit that out at all. That's brilliant. So with the background across the stage, Whopper graduate, some film and television credits to your name, and most recently in The 12. But Foxtel, credit to them for investing in scripted drama, because it seems like there's so many reality programs and...
Well, reality is so cheap to make, it's very small crews, and there isn't a team of writers who are constantly, working 24/7 for months and months during pre-production and production up until the end. That it's just so cheap to make. So I guess that's the way the world goes. And I think also with the rise of social media and stuff like that, there is a deep want for the public to want to view view people's lives. They want to watch real people.
Make them feel better about their own, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. And they want something to complain about in the office the next day.
Well, the 12 is it's a fantastic series, and I mean, what a cast too. Obviously because you're in it, but also there's Sam Neill, Kate Mulvaney. Some big names, particularly in Australia. And was it intimidating for you at all coming into a cast like that, or joining a production with a cast?
I was really walking to set the first day. Walking into the courtroom the first day where sort of everyone was together was incredibly exciting, I think.
Okay.
And the brilliance of someone like a Sam Neill is he will make the entire set feel at ease when he's sort of doing his bit. It was kind of amazing to sort of watch someone of that caliber, and I want to be very careful about how I use my words here, but stop and start. I was going to say screw up, but him doing him going through his lines, playing a barrister called Colby, who is defending Kate. And so he has a lot in the courtroom, obviously. And sort of day one, he's there and he's got pages of dialogue. And so did Marta Dusseldorp. And I asked Marta afterwards, I was like, oh my God, were you nervous? You had, 100 people watching you. Marta turned to me very sweetly and said, I've done a lot of theatre. I was like, oh, sorry, of course, Marta. But Sam had this other brilliant way of making the whole set feel at ease when he would stop if he dropped a line, make a joke, go back to the top and just keep going without cutting. Never cut. He never cut himself, which I was like, oh, wow. So never intimidated by the actors doing the work. I think probably just generally intimidating having so many wonderful, powerhouse actors in the same place in one room. We're talking, as you say, Kate Mulvaney, Marta Dusseldorp, Sam Neill, Brendan Cowell, Pallavi Sharda, who plays the head juror, Brooke Satchwell, Kat Van Davies. It's endless. It's crazy. And newcomers like Nagali Shaw and Toby Bloom. There's so many of incredible people in one place. So it was unbelievable.
It's kind of like a masterclass for you, really. Every day on set, you'd be pinching yourself.
Well, I spent a lot of time as a jury member listening, doing a lot of nothing, a lot of time doing nothing, which was awesome and at times really tedious. But there was there was never a moment where I didn't have someone to watch or something to be picking up on during the 6 months we shot.
That's great. And so over that 6 months period, I mean, it's kind of every player is really integral. I mean, it's not like you can come in for 2 months and you're all in the room together, all 12 of you. It is about all of you and your journey. I think. Did you have much of an opportunity to bring more to your character than what was on the page?
It's a really, really good question, and actually, yes. I think something that I was incredibly proud of and fortunate, just so lucky. Greg Waters, the script producer, who welcomed us really early on, particularly those characters who are played by ethnically diverse people,
Yep.
Of which there were lots. Like it's an incredibly diverse show and so brilliant to see on Australian TV.
It's fantastic.
And what Greg Waters did beautifully was he invited us to go, okay, well, look, you're playing Alexei Menelaou. He's a Greek origin, second generation, Greek descent, and so are you. What can you bring? And actually, there were things. Every episode, I was allowed to sort of bring what I thought was appropriate culturally, and I said, look, I want to rewrite this scene in Greek. Can I do it in Greek? And they said, yeah, go ahead. So I rewrote it in Greek with my auntie. Not rewrote the script. We did the dialogue. We translated it into Greek, and we got to perform it with Lex Marinos, who's another fabulous actor, with Ben Mingay, who plays my brother, and we got to have a scene entirely in Greek, which was really cool. And it just, I don't know, that kind of stuff doesn't always happen. So to be invited to do that was really special.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I guess it sort of must have all really felt like, and very quickly, like a big sort of family unit where everyone's sort of working and singing to the same tune and just bringing something to set each day, trying to add something special.
Totally, and much to the writers sometimes, I think, because Greg offered, this is one of the things I talked to Greg about this as well, because he had made that offer really early on, actors were constantly coming up with like new things, and the rewrites are happening on the day, and the writers must be pulling their hair out because they're getting phone calls from the director being like, hey, can we change it?
What do you mean I can't have a shootout and an action sequence in the middle?
It was a lot for the writers. Sarah Walker as well, who sort of took over, who was the head writer on it as well. I mean, kudos to her and her patience with all of us, me in particular, I think. But yeah, such a patient person, such a talent. So yeah,
well, I mean, lots of actors passionate about their characters. You're always going to get that, and that little bit of tension. You're going to push for a little bit extra, to help your character land. But that's fantastic that you in an environment where you felt safe to offer up something like that, let alone have them agree to it and run with it. That's fantastic. I know sometimes on a set it can feel very closed in terms of opportunities to even try take certain, slightly different than the very specific direction. But that's okay. It's just my trauma coming through there, Damien. Don't worry.
No, I think everyone's had an experience. Anyone who's, I've done, I think, a handful of days on Home and Away, and it was very much like, no, the exact words.
Yeah.
The exact word. There's no time either. There's zero time.
Yeah.
I have an idea. No ideas. Zero ideas. Just do what you're told. Stand there, look here, and then get off, because we've got 16 more, episodes to shoot today.
We've got another 5 hours to shoot today or something. It's like ridiculous how much footage and 3 cameras at once. And I interviewed Shane Withington a few weeks ago, who's into his 14th year of his character. And he said, we always joke that, your first take and your warm-up take sort of thing is when you walk onto set, because it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a guestie, 50-worder, or you're a regular, you get 2 takes, that's it, moving on.
Yeah, and I got to watch him work. We had our scenes were together.
Did you? Fantastic.
He's a fantastic actor, but also like such a consummate professional and so good at that kind of television. And like, I think people tend to shit on Home and Away a lot, but what it teaches you if you're on the show for a while, because my partner did 3 years on Home and Away when she was very young. Right. When she was, I think, 17 years old, she straight out of high school kind of went on to Home and Away and did 3 years, and that was her drama school. That was her training ground, and she became a genius at continuity. She became a genius at getting her making bold choices quickly and then executing them really well. So it was like, people might poo-poo Home and Away in a bit, but until you've actually been on set and you've been there and done it, it's really difficult to say, to talk about the quality of the show. You're like, there's no time, and these actors are really under the pump.
That's it. You've got to turn up prepared, have options ready, ready to go, because it's a fluid environment, and they shoot really quick, 3 cameras at once. Like, it's just, I think the last time I had a 50-word, I was a lifeguard, and it was a big scene for them, the food truck explosion. So there's fire brigade, there's police, there's all these extras, and six of the regular cast members, and they're like, okay, and you've got a cue to race on scene, then a cue to say something, then a cue to grab the fire extinguisher, and a different cue to fire it. And I've
Oh
got
my
to know
God.
which direction I'm doing all this stuff. And my head's exploding as I'm trying to just remember how many steps to get to here and there and whatever, because the flames were real. And then I found out we've only got 4 fire extinguishers. So, you know, and they only, and by the way, fire extinguishers only last about 30 seconds. That's something else I found out, which was quite disturbing at one level.
Well, you were churning through them.
I was absolutely burning through them. So it was, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, no, fantastic environment, because if you can work under such pressure, producing so many minutes of television a day, you know, it's almost a luxury then to have time to prepare, rehearse, go and have a few more takes.
Absolutely, and I think, as you say, like just the difference, it's going to be unique to every single production. You know, like time, money is a factor. All of those things sort of feed into creative influence that you might have over a shoot. Yes, I have a very similar story to you with my time on Home and Away, which was I had. It was sort of an ambulance. Something had happened terrible, and ambulance.
So much drama in Summer Bay. I love it.
Lots of fire engines and this thing. And I had to drive a car. On the day, they're like, "Oh, can you drive, by the way?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Great, because you're driving this car into the scene." And I was like, "What if I said no? Like, what, you redo the whole scene then? Like, how does that work?" Anyway, I had to drive over the top of this camera because they wanted a shot where the car would sort of go over the top of the camera like that and it would go black.
Okay.
No time to rehearse. So they stick the camera in the sand and they're like, now drive over the top of it. No rehearsal. And I remember I was in the car with co-actor, I think his name's Danny, and we were driving, floored it into the scene, but the car went from driving on concrete to driving onto sand and dropped about, I don't know, 10 centimeters. Yeah. But that was just enough for me to bottom out on top of a $60,000 camera as we drove over the top of it. Mate. And I remember driving, went on the camera, turned to Danny and I was like, "Mate, did I just hit that with the wheel?" He goes, no, you were over the top of it. You're fine. You missed it completely. And then I think it was the second or third AD just came in the window and went, "Yeah, you fucked the camera there, mate." And I was like, "Oh my God. What are you going to do?" No rehearsals, and that's what happens.
Yeah. A sand can compact quite considerably, and
providing
a physics lesson for everyone. It's character building. And you can also add stunt driver on your IMDb now.
Oh, I haven't thought of that. I will amend immediately.
Do you think your background in theatre helps for those moments where you've got, you know, lots of dialogue to turn through and not a lot of time or not a lot of takes? You know, for me, you know, wanting to be off book at rehearsals for theatre, and then you sort of frees you up to be able to take some chances. I kind of have a similar approach when it comes to in front of the camera. It's sort of get just off book, so it's still a bit exciting, but enough so that I can be in the moment and really listen and react to what's happening. And I find, I guess it's not so much does one way prepare you for a totally different style of acting, but I've got the same approach for both. Prepared, but enough to be able to be in the moment. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. I think putting the book down as quick as possible. Look, it's actually horses for courses. So I think with theatre, because of how I grew up, I grew up doing a lot of indie theatre very early on, over 10 years ago, started doing independent theatre where we had 2 weeks rehearsal and there was no time to learn, you were talking like Shakespeare monologues and things like that, and lots of them. And, so I learned really quickly to learn lines fast and then make bold choices quickly as well. Just because of the nature, we didn't have time to rehearse and you weren't getting paid very much or anything at all. So it was very much like do it as quick as possible so you can get on and don't spend that much time practicing and just doing the run and getting on with it. And I think I've definitely kept that sort of mantra for auditions, for screen auditions. Mm-hmm. Like yourself, I will definitely learn it. Basically, I'll read it through and try and get someone working with me as quickly as I can so I can get off book as fast as possible. Just know it with a little bit of uncertainty, I guess. So there is that I really have to listen to what you're saying so I know what to say. So there's no over preparedness, particularly because for auditions, if you're doing a couple per week or whatever, or you get them and you have to go to do the next day, there's not much time to learn it. So it's very much like on the fly. But also, I think for your self-tapes, particularly for my self-tapes, I'll speak for myself. My self-tapes, I just want to do like a strong opening,
Yeah.
a really good turning point in the middle somewhere, and a strong ending. And the lines kind of, I'm like, yeah, you just get a sense. I'll give you a sense of the character with what I will give, the flavor that I will give it. And that's how I look at self-tapes now. But with theatre, I had that history of like wanting to learn really quickly and getting off book really quickly. And actually, Darren Gilshan, and I had a conversation with him once. He's a fantastic theatre actor, and like he was once described as, I think, Australia's Jim Carrey. He's like, if you don't know Darren Gilshan, then get to know his work.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. I've had him on the show and I've seen him on stage too. And I think, I've never heard that, but that's spot on, an Australian Jim Carrey. He's just wonderful, like a fantastic clown, or like Australian Robin Williams. You know, he's got that level of energy, and it's just amazing watching him work. But anyway, I had a conversation with him once, and he was like, "Oh no, don't put your script down. Put a pencil behind your ear and hold your script for the first however many weeks, because you want to just slowly figure out the character, slowly figure out your choices." And I really took that on board, and like since then, that was a couple of maybe 2017 or something, have since then always kept my script in my hand for theatre much longer than I would have before. Kept a pencil behind my ear, did exactly what he told me, and just like making notes, making choices. What was that idea? Did that work? And then be able to go back, rub out, change it, and like trying to work more methodically rather than just like gung ho. Because I think while instincts are really important to remember and write down, like what was my instinct, then I write that down. There's actually 10 other options that you can go through before landing on the one that is suitable. It's great that you've got that confidence to want to play with it a bit in the rehearsal space and really try and push it in different directions. And I think that's fantastic. I can imagine Darren's script has got pencil marks all over it as he plays with blocking and how to say the lines, and like he's a genius.
Well, I think he's like a mathematician of comedy, right? Like he's so intricate. All of his gags, all of his sort of, I mean, the play that I remember him most from was 2008 in The Government Inspector, where it was him and Bill Zappa played 19 characters between the two of them, I think.
My God.
And I remember I was in the back row with my two best friends. I think we were two best friends at the time. And we were convulsed, cry laughing in the back row of the Opera House. Just like, in weeping. And like all he was doing was clicking a pen. It was ridiculous. And I was like, that's the kind of actor I want to be.
And when did you know that acting was calling you?
Don't know, man. Like I did my first play when I was in year 9.
Mm-hmm.
So in year 9, we had to do monologues for drama class. Like I took drama as soon as I could. I think because my brother did, and it seemed like a bit of fun. Like it wasn't like I saw a film and I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy I want to be. I just kind of took drama, thought it'd be fun, and we had to do a monologue, and it was Shakespeare monologues, and I picked Henry V, and I copied Kenneth Branagh's Henry V down to making, I made my mum make me a costume. Oh, wow. So she like made me a Kenneth Branagh outfit with like, it was amazing. Love your mum. But yeah.
It's your mother and your brother that have made
Yeah. Well, my brother's, he went into making films, and he's a post-production producer now. So he's definitely in the biz too. But so we did this monologue, the Shakespeare monologue, and we had a teacher at the school, Damien Ryan, who happened to be an incredible actor and director himself, who'd worked with Bell Shakespeare a lot. And he saw the potential, I think, of a group of young boys at a high school, and went, I'm going to put you all in a play. So he put us all in a play called Henry V, and which was eventually remounted 10 years later with the Bell Shakespeare Company with a bunch of the same actors from high school. So from that year 9 production, when we did this show, I think from about then, was about 14 years old, I was like, I really love this. I really love this. I like doing it. What do I like about it? I think I just liked holding space and feeling confident and feeling like I had a voice. It was really interesting to go from being a 14-year-old, like not very bright at high school, to speaking Shakespeare. I was like, and once it had kind of been unlocked for me, and once I unlocked Shakespeare for myself, it actually became like an obsession. It became really fun to like figure out the language and to play with it. So I think really early on, I guess, is the short answer. But I didn't realize it could be a profession until, probably when we were leaving high school, after high school.
Well, it's great that at such an age where you're normally so nervous about the space you inhabit, let alone wanting to own the space, take charge of it in front of other people as well. So that's quite fascinating.
I think that's a story for a lot of young kids. I think that's the thing, right? And that's why a lot of young people like drama, or they have a drama teacher or an English teacher who really helps them find themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But because a lot of kids, like, yeah, I still feel incredibly stupid and inarticulate. But when I'm acting, I have a brilliant writer who writes me fantastic, who's written a fantastic script, and I get to play out these moments, that I might not necessarily otherwise experience, and I think that that's really, really special, and can be incredibly empowering for a young person to find.
That's fantastic. And you still love Shakespeare just as much now as when you were a teenager discovering and having that world opened up for you?
I think I've done some Shakespeare plays numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of my life, and every time I come back to it and I play the same character numerous times, I'm like, oh, I've screwed it up the first 2 times. Now I understand it. Now I get it. And then I'll do it again. I'm like, oh my God, it's constantly like, there's always more to mind. There's more to understand. There's also different ways to do it. And then you see someone else do it differently. Like, oh my God, that's how you do it. It's never ending, particularly given he's got 37 plays and, I haven't read them all. I'm just like, there's still so much more there to explore and discover.
Discovery, and I guess you keep bringing more life experience each time you revisit it as well. So
yeah, and you also go through different age ranges where you end up playing different characters,
yes.
Which I think is really cool as well. There's particularly for the men. The women are slightly less so, by probably pretty huge margin. But like, for men particularly, there is a lot of age ranges that you can go through, and you rank up as you get older.
It's really interesting and quite a comprehensive training ground in high school. Did you and you went straight to Whopper from high school, or did you have a gap?
No, I went to. So I graduated and I got my UAI, as it was called then, and I auditioned for NIDA, and I auditioned for ACA, and I auditioned for ACTT, so some acting schools around Sydney.
Yep.
I didn't get into NIDA, straight up, and my mum was devastated. I was like, oh, it sucks, but my mum was so sad because she was like, that's what you're going to do. Like, NIDA is where you need to be. Didn't get in there, got into ACA and ACTT, and I got into Sydney Uni to do like an arts degree. And so I went to my dad and I was like, hey, Dad, what do you reckon about, acting school? And he was like, well, go to Sydney Uni. And I was like, I'm probably just going to go to acting school. So I decided to go to ACA and went there for a year. And because it wasn't a degree, you had to pay up front, I couldn't afford it after about 12 months, because I think it was $2,500, $3,000 per term or something. Right. And by the end of the year, I was like, I'm 18 years old, I got no money. So I left that and I got a job. That same drama teacher, Damien Ryan, employed me with the Bell Shakespeare Company to do a schools tour called Actors at Work. And so I toured New South Wales for 8 months doing Shakespeare. And then after that year, I auditioned for NIDA again and didn't get in. And then I auditioned for Whopper that same year and then got in that year. Right. But I was really proud of myself because the story with NIDA, and all my best friends went there as well, by the way, like my best friends in the world.
Just to make it worse.
Yeah.
Just to rub it in, Jesus.
Mike, Ross and Eddie all got in, not to mention like Sabrina and a couple of other people as well, close friends.
Oh, wow.
Got into that school, and then I got in, luckily, with some other mates at Whopper, some other beautiful people.
Yeah.
But I was really proud of myself because the second time I auditioned for NIDA, I did the best audition I could. I was like, I nailed that. That was on the day, I did as good as I could do, and I still didn't get in, which actually I kind of felt better about. I was like, good. At least I know that I did my best.
That's great, and I guess also, that experience, although there be moments of disappointment like NIDA the first time, or having to leave ACA because of funds, that's a rich journey in terms of character building to then land at Whopper with some solid experience.
Yeah, Whopper's, I mean, for what it was incredible. Like we did 6 days training a week or something like that, at a fraction of the cost at the time as well, because it was an advanced diploma that was, I guess, heavily subsidized by the Western Australian government at the time. And like, so it was a really wonderful experience. Plus you're sort of in Perth in your bubble, separated from the industry in Sydney. And I was just, because I was 19 when I went, and you're forced to grow up, like forced to, live by yourself or find friends and live with them. And it was just a really wonderful way to sort of gain some life experience, I think.
That's
so
fantastic.
I'd recommend it to anyone.
I think one thing that I think would be challenging for me is the touring, to bringing the craft to high school students is great, but the execution, I'm just not sure. How did that go? Were you apprehensive with that sort of an audience? Like, you really got to grab their attention and hold it for.
I was so young when I did that as well, though. I was 19 when I did that too, and it was just like, I don't know. I didn't know any better. That was me. Like I was 1 year out of school.
You had a job as an actor, yeah.
Yeah. I really didn't think about it too much, and I think if I went back now and had to do it again, I'd probably be exhausted every day and like really, really struggle, because it was three shows a day sometimes. Wow. And three 1-hour shows, should I say? They weren't like long shows. Yeah. 3 1-hour shows per day, half the time I think, and then just constantly on the road. But I didn't know any better, and I thought it was that again was like a wonderful training ground for like, this is what it's like to kind of be in 1,000 different venues across New South Wales, and just kind of learn how to perform to big groups of people. That's
great. That's really great. And from Whopper graduating there to you went straight back to Sydney. Did you find an agent right away? Did you have someone in mind, or was that a result of the showcase or something?
Yeah, as a result of the showcase, which I think is, I think if anyone's thinking about drama school, it's almost worth it for that. You know what I mean? It's not often that you can get every agent in Sydney in one room watching you do something. Like, it's really kind of the most amazing part about drama school, really. Because I don't think the drama school is the only way to be an actor. As I said, my partner never went to drama school. She worked. She was in high school and did auditions and was picked up for Home and Away. So like, it can happen that easily. And then obviously Home and Away was a training ground, but Whopper being like, I don't think drama schools are the only way in, but it is an amazing thing that you get, and it's a wonderful stepping stone into the industry. So when I graduated, I was lucky enough to be seen by Lisa Mann, who ended up offering me a meeting, and I was incredibly nervous for that. That time I was, because I think by that point I'd worked out, like it might be possible to like do this for a living. My God. Yeah. Imagine if this happened. So I remember having that meeting, and I think I knew that I wanted to be with Lisa, because I was equally nervous, probably for all of them, but maybe particularly for her, because I remember at one point in the meeting, she just went, "Damien, stop, slow down. And I was like, okay.
Just so enthusiastic about wanting to get everything right.
Yeah, like, and that's, oh wow, that's a really interesting phrase, wanting to get everything right. That is something, I mean, definitely I still battle with that today, but like certainly over the past 10 years of sort of working, have let go of the idea of getting it right a lot more from the time when I just graduated anyway. But yeah, it's such an interesting phrase.
Well, bringing it back to the 12, there's so much excitement around the series, and certainly for Foxtel, we get a sense that it's very much a flagship show for them, and with the cast as well. Did you get a sense of that sort of hype and excitement around the production for those 6 months?
As we were doing it?
Yeah.
There was definitely, there's always a buzz on set when you've got that many actors in one room. It felt like, and it was kind of amazing in a way that, kind of being locked in a jury room, which is a very small studio room in Artarmon that we worked in, which, on some of those hot days over summer got to 40 degrees. It was just like a melting pot of sweaty actors. But it did feel pretty special. There's some pretty electric moments on set, and there were some pretty electric moments when we were on location as well, where things were happening. And it did feel like, for me personally as well, like it felt so special doing it. And there was, I do remember texting my best mate at one point, just saying, I think that was the best day on set I've ever had. And I wasn't referring to my acting. I was just referring to the feeling of being on set and kind of what was happening, and the amount of, like, just the kind of the effort that was being put in from all corners, from every department. Like it was really, all systems were running at 100%. It was kind of amazing to be a part of, and I feel very, very lucky to have been a part of that show.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. You certainly worked really hard to make the most of these opportunities, and the fact that you talk about being prepared, you know, so that you can, I guess, also enjoy these jobs, like you're saying. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Coming back to the learning learning lines thing, I think feeling like if I'm going to set, it's a big day and I'm in every scene from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, feeling prepared, like I know what I'm going to do, or like knowing what my very first offer is going to be, and like that feeling prepared, I think that's important. So yeah, feeling like slightly nervous and a bit like loosey-goosey for tapes and stuff like that, but certainly by the time I'm going to set and going to work, like I really want to feel like I'm on top of my shit.
Yeah, well done. I'm looking forward to watching the entire series of the 12 on Foxtel here in Australia. And Damien, thank you very much for your time. We really do appreciate it here at Two Unemployed Actors. Damien Strouthos, thank you.
Cheers, Max. Thanks, mate.
Two unemployed actors.